is another Identity Crisis tank. Alongside the VK3001H, when the great engine nerf of patch 8.8 rolled around, the 3601H medium tank was rebranded as a heavy, and likewise took a hit to its mobility. The thing is, unlike the 3001H, this time it really made sense. The 36 has always been a heavy tank that was awkwardly occupying a medium tank position, and even with the engine nerf, as you can see, the mobility on this thing is not bad at all. It's cruising along at about 50 kilometers per hour. It's the only way in which it's suffered is that it's a bit more sluggish on the takeoff. It doesn't climb hills quite so well as it used to, and the turning is not anywhere near as nimble as it used to be, so it's kind of fallen out of favour. I mean, it used to be a mainstay of tank companies back when they were a thing, but now, because it can't really engage in a turn fight the way that it used to, it's really not a patch on the old Cromwells. Now, just quickly, there's two choices of guns. There's the short 88, or there's the Waffe that you had on the 3001H. I prefer the Waffe, and this is why. The Waffe, formerly the Konish, is a lot more accurate than the short 88, and the shell travel time is almost twice as fast. This means you're going to be pulling off those trick shots at range a lot more often than you would with the short 88. Now, both guns are fairly similar. The 88 has 0.36 accuracy as opposed to the Waffe's 0.33. They both have just shy of 2000 DPM, or possibly a little higher on the Waffe, but still around about the same. And in patch 9.15, the penetration of the short 88 is getting bumped up a bit closer to the Waffe, but still the Waffe, with its better accuracy, its better shell travel time, and its much better penetration as it stands, just makes it a superior option in my eyes. When you're bottom tier, you're going to be able to pin those tier 8 tanks a lot more reliably with the Waffe, and when you're top tier, you get to spread the shots out against more vehicles, so you're not concentrating all your DPM into a few shots. Your mileage may vary, but that's just my preference for guns for this vehicle. Now, back to why this is actually a heavy tank and not a medium, and always should have been. It's that armor. 100mm of armor, twice as much as the 3001H, the exact amount that the Tiger has, and it used to have better rear armor than the Tiger as well, to boot, and, insult to injury there. At the time of the changes to these vehicles, the 3601H was a better heavy tank than the Tiger was tier for tier. And as you saw while I was waffling on about the Waffe, this thing took a hell of a lot of shots, and only 2 of them have actually managed to do any damage, one of which was just prem spam from the Su-85, and the other one, of course, artillery, because you can't angle against the sky. When it's top tier, the armor on this thing works well enough. And when you're bottom tier, you fill in a medium tank job. Yeah, I know I'm turning these videos into a history of World of Tanks tech tree development, but it may be interesting, I guess. So, the way this tank plays, if you're top tier, you play heavy tank styles. You side scrape, you glue your face to cover and force the enemy to shoot at impossible angles, if you can. It's got enough armor on the sides to manage that, and you just use your good accuracy, your good DPM, and your good penetration to bleed away enemy hit points. It's not exactly complex stuff. It's pretty much textbook heavy tank play, because this is a textbook heavy tank. Nothing unusual about it, just good solid German engineering. And when you're bottom tier, you play it like a medium tank. You use the mobility to get into positions where the enemy's not focusing, you hide behind the bigger tanks on your team, you target modules, especially tracking shots on enemy vehicles. The penetration should help you. The accuracy will allow you to at least pull off some damage. You essentially assist the rest of your team by pitching in the damage where you can, and because you've got a teeny tiny little pop gun that has decent DPM but shot for shot doesn't really do much, it basically helps you to be less of an obvious threat, less of an obvious target, so that they will not focus on removing you as quickly as they could. And keep an eye on the map. Bear in mind that this vehicle, although it's a heavy and although it's a bit sluggish on the takeoff, it can reach 50 kilometers per hour downhill very easily, so it can reposition on a map provided you're not climbing hills to do so. So any gaps in the line that you spot, you can race off and occupy them. You can intercept medium tanks and take care of light tanks speeding across at range with your nice, fast, accurate 75mm shells. So pay attention to what's happening. With the speed and the tremendous long-range accuracy of this vehicle, its capacity to influence the game is tremendous. You can reposition and intercept, you can snipe at extreme range. If you are high or mid-tier in the game, you can adequately tank shots from enemy tanks that are equal or lower tier, and even some higher tiers, provided you angle it well or take advantage of terrain. You've got a decent gun mantlet. It's a really good all-around tank, and it does allow you to leave a mark on the way the game progresses. Even though it's a little rough around the edges compared to when it used to be a medium tank, I still love this vehicle. As an all-rounder, it really fits the bill. It's not going to get left out of position in quite the fashion that the OI or the T150 would, or even worse, the Churchill 7. It's not nearly as soft and vulnerable as the M6 or the ARL 44. It's definitely not as monstrously fat as the M6 or the OI. And the gun handling is a lot better than the KV85, the T150, the KV2, you get the point. It's a nice, excellent, efficient vehicle. It is a step up from the Tier 5 in every conceivable way, and it prepares you for the strength of the Tiger to follow it, that being the incredibly accurate and well-performing rapid-fire gun. So, fair enough, it may have lost some of its medium tank shine, the bells and whistles, and the chance to say that you've got a medium tank that's more heavily armoured than most Tier 7 or even 8 heavies. But that was just silly, and you're at least left with a very comfortable grind. So there you have it, the VK36.01H, a solid little performer. It's not glamorous, it's not overpowered, it's not the most exciting, but by God is it efficient. And that's going to be the story for the next few tiers. Efficient, reliable, dependable, solid performers. Tanks as good as you are.